boats in the world.
Castle built in 1793. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick, along with Dick Crippen, who will be calling the play-by-play. As we look back over my shoulder from this view, from this tower, we can see Paradise Island. The boats will negotiate this 10 times for a total of 125 miles. Now, for the course description, let's go to Dick Crippen.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's a very simple course. As you can see, the unique thing about it is that it's going to run clockwise. Normally, we run counterclockwise, but on this particular course, you'll start on the other side of Paradise Island, hit turns 1 and 2, come down the channel in front between Paradise Island and Nassau, go out to 3 and 4, and back across on the back stretch. So it's going to be a very interesting course. They're going to finish on the front side, which means they'll actually be going an extra half lap in each of the classes. Should provide some exciting action, not only for the boats, but exciting action for the fans who will be standing on that channel side, very, very close to the boats, whether they're in Nassau or on Paradise Island. There you see La Grande Argentina. That's Danielle Scioli, and there he is looking around, checking out the field, and also checking out the water conditions. Rain is falling on the Bahamas. It's kind of a light, misty rain. As a result, the winds are down. It should be a fast race. La Grande Argentina in the superboats, along with Flyer and Alcone Motorsports. Only 3 superboats. This is an invitational race. They're trying it out to see how it goes over in the Bahamas. In open class, Recovery with Stuart Hayham, Executor, and Ohio Steel. In the modified class, you'll be seeing Airborne out of Key West and also the M666 Nightmare. It's an invitational race, as we said earlier. The Bahamian government paid for these boats to come over. They want to see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting race, and as we said, the winds are down, Jim, and that's going to make the water very good. We saw moments ago that the water was extremely flat.
Well, not only that, but they will be coming into a very narrow channel on the backside, and on the ocean side, they'll hit some rollers, but it's going to smooth out, so the throttlemen are going to have to adjust accordingly every half lap.
Yeah, really, they say a lot of times it's the smooth water that's the nightmare for the throttle man. And as you can see, the rain continues to fall here, but it's kind of in and out. It's passing showers as the boats are now continuing to line up. The white boat that's just off to the right of your screen is actually the pace boat, and it's the pace boat that'll bring them up to the start line.
And they'll be going clockwise. Usually we see these guys go counterclockwise, but here in the Bahamas, it'll be starting from left to right.
The pace boat is now rallying the fleet, if you will. This will be a 2-wave start. In other words, in the first start, we'll have the supers, the opens, and the modifieds all at once. And then we'll go to the production and the stock boats for the second start of the day. The pace boat now getting up on plane. They want to get good speed going. You can see the supers and a modified coming up on it. La Grande Argentina and Alcone Motorsports, the 2 boats kind of flanking the boat driven by Stuart Hayham, the US 1, red, white, and blue. We expect quite a battle between the Alcone Motorsports and La Grande Argentina.
Earlier, Dick, I mentioned that the super and opens would navigate 10 laps around a 12.5-mile course. Let's reverse that. It's 12.5 laps around a 10-mile course, and it'll be a 125-mile race as all 3 classes, the super, open, and modifieds, are about to begin here at Nassau in the Bahamas.
They have dropped the flag, and we are off and running. And boy, look at how those rear ends dig into the water and throw that rooster tail up in the air, trying to get speed. Alcone Motorsports is your first leader. Alcone Motorsports now will get set to make a right-hand turn. And that's got to be kind of confusing for these drivers right off. I hope they've had time to practice it, because as you said earlier, most of the time they're making a left, going counterclockwise.
And we're looking at a camera installed on the stern of La Grande Argentina, Danielle Scioli, as he looks like he's in pretty smooth water coming up on Ohio Steel in the open class.
Ohio Steel is driven by John Rebhan of Warren, Ohio, and Craig Berry out of Sarasota, Florida. And you can see La Grande Argentina, Danielle Scioli and Fabio Puzzi as they go by. Now, it's kind of interesting. Danielle, as you can see, is sitting alone in that cockpit. Well, actually, there are 2 men in that one cockpit. Fabio Puzzi sits behind Danielle Scioli, and I think that's the only setup that you're going to see today where that is the actual arrangement for the driver and the throttle man. Normally, the throttleman sits alongside or on the other hull, if you will, if it happens to be a catamaran, across from the driver, but they're up there equal looking at the same thing.
Well, we just saw La Grande Argentina go across the stern of the Alcone in some rough water as we have our second start now with Pro 1s in there.
These will be the production and stock boats, and these boats will go for the production 10 laps around the course and 8 laps for the stock. They're smaller boats. As a matter of fact, stock boats mean exactly that. They are boats basically the way you buy them off of the showroom. Right off the bat, we have the battle. As you can see on the left, it's Alcone Motorsports. On the right, La Grande Argentina. Now you see a little bit of black smoke occasionally coming off of La Grande Argentina. Don't worry about that. It is diesel powered. It's the only diesel powered boat out here today. Here's a great shot of how a super boat catamaran will run. Look how high the bow is out of the water and how it sits so firmly on the back end of the boat. And there you can see the arrangement with the driver and the navigator throttleman sitting together, as opposed to the deep V of La Grande Argentina, where Daniele Scioli is sitting in front of Fabio Buzzi. But you can also see how that boat has a high front end sitting flat in the water but no air underneath.
It's raining, Dick, but boy, what a beautiful piece of water that these guys are racing on. Look how smooth they are as they come down to this point, which is the eastern end of Paradise Island. They're coming down the channel, and here's the bridge. They'll have to negotiate. At these speeds, I bet you that opening looks a lot smaller than it really is.
I can imagine. I don't know if I can handle that or not, but what a great shot off of the tail of La Grande Argentina. And there's Daniele Scioli concentrating inside the boat. Well, we are underway in the Bahamas. We have a lot more racing to go. We'll be back to that racing and see how it all shapes up in just a moment. The Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge is being brought to you by the Atlantis Hotel. The ocean runs through it. And by the island of the Bahamas. It just keeps getting better. Welcome to the Bahamas and the Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge. Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendricks, and out in front right now it is the Alcone Motorsports team. That boat is driven by Matt Alcone. The owner of the boat is Alcone Motorsports, and the throttle man is Jerry Gilbreth of Newport Beach, California, and he is top-notch. This is a good race out here, and the challenge all season long, it seems, has been between this boat, which is leading, and the La Grande Argentina boat.
But I'll tell you right now, Alcone Motorsports, with Matt Alcone at the wheel, Jerry Gilbreth at the throttles, have set the first lap at 123.2, and that's about 8 miles an hour faster than your second place boat. As we look at Ohio Steel, he's negotiating about 101. Now here's your second place boat in Super, trying to catch the leader, 8 miles an hour off the pace.
Exciting racing, smooth water makes for very fast speeds, even though it's a kind of misty rain falling on the course. Right now, Daniele Scioli is looking ahead, trying to see exactly how far Alcone Motorsports is ahead of him. There's your leader in the open class, Stuart Hayham, with the recovery boat. You know, this is a big event in the Bahamas. It's drawn huge crowds. Jim Hendrick is standing by with two guys who helped make it happen.
Dick, I'm down here with two gentlemen that made it all happen. The president of Superboat Racing, of course, is John Carbonell. Jerry Worth is the Bahamian coordinator for SBR. And Jerry, you're the man who made the first contact.
That's right. We made the first contact about a year ago, and John and I have been working on it, and then we got the green light from the ministry, and it was 12 weeks. It was just like a superboat race in itself. 12 weeks to prepare and get everything executed, and here we are today, ready to go.
John Carbonell, we were talking to Bill Lawrence, the director of communications for the ministry. He says you guys have done such a good job, this is not a one-time shot.
No, we're planning on coming back for the next 3 years and make a bigger and better show each year.
And why are there only a few boats? Was this like an invitational?
Yeah, the ministry felt that we would go with 20 boats this race and increase the numbers each year till we get up to 100 boats.
Well, they have drawn the crowds on all sides of the channel, so I'm sure that they're going to put this in the column with success. There you see your leader on the left of your screen, Alcone Motorsports. On the right, you see Daniele Scioli and Fabio Buzzi as they try to catch up to that lead boat in La Grande Argentina. But, you know, the smooth water, we talked about it making for very high speed. It also makes for a very good controlled run. And unless they start hitting some unexpected waves or something, the throttleman this week, I think, Jim, is going to have a very easy go.
Yeah, they're really kind of cruising like a Sunday drive right now. And as you head down toward the western end of Paradise Island, you can see the rain is at the western end of the island, and the eastern end it kind of clears up. So they're coming under that bridge right now that connects Nassau with Paradise Island as we look at our number 2 place boat, Grand Argentina, with Danielle Scioli and Fabio Buzzi.
Now, whenever the water is rough, you look to a deep V, and in this particular case, off the tail of the Grand Argentina, you can see the boat is riding smoothly across the water, so that's an indication. Here's second place in the production class, Venus Swimwear, Joseph Vasquez and Robert Loeffler. They're running second to High Risk, the boat driven by Rick Felsen. Here's your leader overall. And they've got to be having a good day out there today. I'm sure they're very happy with it. You can almost see their smile in the cockpits there. What a great shot. We're looking at Jerry Gilbreth, who's on the throttles, and Matt Alcone of Newport Beach, California, who is driving that boat. A couple of the other boats that are trying to come up into the field, Ohio Steel, that is now running third. Warren Fabricating out of Warren, Ohio, owning that boat, throttled by Craig Berry of Sarasota, and John Revan of Warren, Ohio is on the steering mechanism. And there you see Ohio Steel, kind of a unique setup for the cockpit, a little bit different than you're seeing on some of the other boats. For instance, on the Alcone Motorsports, Jim, we see 2 separate cockpits. On Ohio Steel, we see 1 bigger cockpit.
After the first lap, the Alcone Motorsports had an 8-mile-an-hour advantage over the second-place boat, which is La Grande Argentina, as we look at her there. And that's only about, on lap number 2, they're only 3 miles an hour faster. As we're looking at our leader in open class, Joey Imprescia on the throttles, Stuart Ham driving recovery.
And, of course, the great story on this boat is the fact that Stuart Ham actually has recovered from cancer, a form of cancer, and as a result, all of his winnings go off to cancer research, which is quite a story and quite an inspiration to a lot around. There you can see that unique cockpit design of Ohio Steel that I was talking about just a few moments ago. It's just one big cockpit with the 2 guys in it, which I suppose makes it a little bit easier on the communications, but they can go by either hand or by voice because they have radios between the 2 guys anyway. But that is just their choice of design, and they hope that makes it go a little bit faster. Here you see Executor, another boat that is very much in it. Julio Del Rey of Miami, Florida, and Jorge Del Rey of Coral Gables, Florida. They are riding in second place in their class.
Down at the eastern end of the island once again, and we can see our leader on the far right screen is the Alcone. And the second place boat is Super, coming around with the big rooster tail coming up is La Grande Argentina. So first and second in Supers, not too far apart.
Good racing, good speeds. It's all happening in the Bahamas today at the Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge. Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick will be back with more racing from the Bahamas as you look at our standings after lap 2. Welcome back to the Superboat Racing Series, the Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge. Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick as we look at the standings after lap number 2. The boat on your screen is Executor, which is the boat riding 5th overall, 3rd in the open class. And they are getting a good ride on this course because of the in and out little rain showers, and they're very light rain showers, but there is no wind, so therefore the boats are riding very smoothly.
And we're looking at La Grande Argentina on lap number 3 of 12.5. And he's trying to catch this boat, the Alcone, in the Superboat class. Alcone averaging now around 115 mile an hour.
And this has got to be a great ride for these guys because they have not had a problem-free year. This is by far the best run that they have had, I think, all season that I remember, Jim.
And right now, there's only about a 3 mile an hour difference between the lead boat and this boat. Here's your leader. And he's running around 118 mile an hour in this particular lap, and back about 3 miles an hour slower is this boat, your number 2 boat in Super, La Grande Argentina.
We've had some great shots of La Grande Argentina on the turns, and that's really the telltale of that boat. It is a diesel-powered boat, and it takes a little while to get the acceleration in that boat. The other super boat that it's racing against at this point, the Alcone Motorsports that's on your screen, has very fast acceleration out of the turn. But when you see this boat, La Grande Argentina, in the turn, watch how he tries to keep his speed up. He'll go to the outside of the turn, so he doesn't have to get much off of the throttle. If he can keep his speed up, he comes out of the turn fine, and he doesn't have too much problem accelerating. Look at that, little ants out on the course. One of the boats apparently having some engine problems, trying to get off the course at this point. But there you can see the boats as they come head on at you. And that's a great sight.
I didn't know you brought your yacht, Dick.
I wish I had, Jim, at this point. That is a real superboat. Alcone Motorsports still the dominant factor in this race, and as you can see as you look at your screen, that boat is just operating flawlessly. As we said earlier, it is a boat that has had its problems because they do like to run it wide open. A lot of people say they go one of two ways, wide open or dead stop. And there's Executor. Again, this boat being owned by Jorge Del Rey out of Coral Gables, Florida. The driver, Julio Del Rey, is out of Miami, Florida.
Right now, he's currently running third as we look at the first place boat, Airborne. Oh, Sloppy Joe's Airborne from the Key West area. They're in first place in the modifieds.
And if you look closely at that boat, you saw one of the guys kind of waving to the crowd. They do this all the time, and as a result, they have a huge fan club wherever they go because they constantly, every lap they go by, they're waving at the crowd, just having a good old time. But I guess when you're running flawlessly in first place, you can go ahead and do that.
You know that 2/3 of the population of the Bahama Islands are located in this Nassau Paradise Island location?
I think all of them are right here at the race site today, as a matter of fact. That's how successful this race really is. Once again, a great head-on shot of La Grande Argentina, a boat that will be hosting the Superboats to competition in Argentina in January. Daniel Scioli today. What about it, Daniel? You're going to back it off and play it safe?
No, we, like always, pushing hard and try to take the boat at the maximum of their performance because that's our style that we have been racing all around the world and winning titles because that's our way to understand the sport.
And take my word for it, I've seen him race many, many times, and as you look down from the tail of La Grande Argentina, that man does not back off at all on the throttles. Here's a 26-foot Scarab, the S3, Christie's Photographics out of Fort Myers, Florida. A.J. Smith, the driver. Bob Christie is the throttle man, and that is a Chevrolet-powered boat, one 650-horsepower engine. There's the standings after lap 3. We'll be back with more racing from the Bahamas in just a moment.
Let's go!
Welcome back to the Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Racing Challenge. Here around Paradise Island, the action continues. Let's go to Dick Crippen.
Thank you, Jim. As we look on the course right now, let's get caught up on the standings. After 4 of 12.5 laps in the Super and the Open, Executor now has moved up to second place in the Open class. There's Executor on your screen right now. They are running second to the boat called Recovery, Stuart Hayham and his crew. So they're getting a good run. It's a little bit of a disadvantage when the water is as smooth as it is today for any boat that's trying to play catch-up. For instance, Ohio Steel right now is riding in third place in the Open division, and they are trying to catch the other two boats, Executor in second and Recovery in first. But it's a problem because your speed is pretty equal for all the boats, so once a boat establishes a lead, it's hard to catch them.
Well, for example, Recovery averaged 110.7 miles an hour in this lap number 4. Executor, we just saw, 106.8.
Argentina, La Grande Argentina, Daniel Scioli still having a very good run out there, but still running in second place to the Alcone Motorsports. Another good shot of Ohio Steel, and you can notice on that particular shot how the rain increased at a certain point on the course. There we even have a little bit of transmission problem off of the tail camera of La Grande Argentina. The rain is in and out. It's not a hard rain, just kind of a misty rain. And like right now, La Grande Argentina runs into some good water and also some fairly clear conditions.
Well, they're in the channel right now, Dick, going for that open sea at the western end of this Paradise Island.
A good race with good speed. Ohio Steel still trying to come in there, and that's a good shot of that unique cockpit we talked about. Here's the boat they're trying to catch up in first place. That was Recovery. Again, a shot of La Grande Argentina as as she goes through the channel. There's Restore, a beautiful looking boat, and he's got a little bit of competition out there in the production class, riding side by side after about 4 laps in. So you can see it is not a matter of boats spread out all over the course. Some of them are riding right next to each other. Here once again is the S3 Christie's Photographics out of Fort Myers, Florida. There's the Nightmare, a 35-foot cigarette hull. Ron Boleen is the driver of that boat from Fort Lauderdale. They're in second place in their division. Luis Vasquez is the navigator, and Richie Cipulo of Miami, Florida on the throttle.
Right now, as we look at Ohio Steel, riding very smoothly, the number 99, and you said, Dick, one big cockpit where driver and navigator sit side by side.
As big as these boats are, aerodynamics does play into it, and there's a lot of different theories. A lot of the boats you will see don't even have cockpits. There's a theory on that also. They want to be out in the wind, and sometimes that's the better way, I guess, for control of the boat. But there you can see Alcone Motorsports with a half cockpit over the top. Incidentally, they have 2 boats, Alcone Motorsports does, and this particular boat today, well, you might be interested to know there's a specific reason why this is the one they chose.
Yes, we brought back our 40. It's good old reliable. It's only been beat once. Most of the time it wins. It's always the first one to the first turn. We'll see if it can hold that record.
Actually, it's been put back together.
Yeah, we ripped the top off it last year in Key West when we barrel rolled it, and it got some very superficial injuries, and it was easy to put back together, so we slapped it back together, and it's already won a couple of races since then.
And right now, it's on its way to yet another win here in the Bahamas. It is leading this boat, La Grande Argentina. Look at that, a little bit of sun, it looks like, starting to come out on the course. Maybe we'll get a really good day out of it yet. But look at how smooth that water is. Alcone Motorsports, the boat right now to beat. And everybody is taking aim at it. And again, the Alcone Motorsports is driven by Matt Alcone, who you met just moments ago. And the throttle man is Jerry Gilbreth. Let's take a look at the leaderboard now with 8.5 laps left to go. Alcone Motorsports leading them all. In the open class, Recovery is the boat to watch. We'll be back to the Bahamas in a moment. Nice way to get back in the Bahamas mood as we look at the standings after 5 laps of 12.5. The Superboat, Alcone Motorsports is leading. The Ohio Steel boat you just saw riding 3rd in the open class. There you can see Alcone Motorsports. He's passing up some of the other boats in the field. Matt Alcone doing a fine job of driving that boat, and he has had a very, very good ride so far, much to the frustration, I'm sure, a little bit to Danielle Scioli, who's trying to catch him in La Grande Argentina, and so far has not really been able to pull down that margin. Again, attributing that to the very fast water here in the Bahamas with no wind whatsoever to be concerned about.
You know, Dick, some of the classes will solidify their national high point positions for this one. And this is the tune-up before the final race of the year at Key West for the World Championships, where over 100 entries in many classes will participate.
Jim, we looked at the Alcone Motorsports, and we got a real tight shot of the cockpit. You can see how the cockpit is open on top. You know, there's not always a helicopter nearby if these boats would go over, and some of the drivers like to have that open space in case they end up upside down in the water. They can escape through the top of the hatch without having to open anything. Alcone Motorsports, there you can see how that half moon at the top of each of the canopies is open. Again, the tail shot, and a good one from La Grande Argentina, still riding in second place very solidly to this boat, the Alcone Motorsports. We are watching the Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge. Nassau on one side and Paradise Island on the other. The boat's actually running clockwise around the Paradise Island Resort. So it is a very beautiful setting for these boats. The Grand Argentina not having much time to enjoy the scenery.
But he's currently running second, trying to catch, of course, that #1 boat, Alcone. And let me say this, Dick, that Danielle Scioli, as we look at Stuart Hayham enjoying pressure there first and open, Danielle Scioli is one of the 5 most recognizable people in Argentina, and every event goes back live to his native country.
Yes, some 2 hours of live television, and it's happening today, going right back to Argentina, and they are watching and cheering down there. They love that boat, no question about it. Here you look at a rare sight. One of the boats riding all alone. There is the Venus swimwear boat that we talked about earlier. And here is your leader now finishing lap number 6. Matt Alcone driving the boat. Jerry Galbraith is the throttleman. There you get a great shot of them head on. We talked about the scenery and the beautiful things there are to do in the Bahamas. One of them is the changing of the guard at the Parliament building. This happens every day here in the Bahamas, and it is a well-photographed event. The Chambers of Parliament, House of Assembly, and the Senate, located on Bay Street. The Loyalist influence is evident in these buildings, which were based on Governor Tryon's palace in New Bern, the ancient capital of North Carolina. We'll be back to more racing with the superboats from the Bahamas in a moment. Interesting, he's going about a mile an hour slower now than the second place boat. He's eased up just a little bit on the throttles. We'll see what happens if they start to close that gap, however. It's an interesting thing to watch as these boats maneuver and use their various strategies. They know the boats, they know the water, and they try to take full advantage of both of Matt Alcone and Jerry Galbraith on the throttles for the Alcone Motorsports, which is leading, as we said, overall and in the superboat class here today. They've enjoyed their stay here in the Bahamas, all the drivers and the boat owners and such. It's been a wonderful experience for some who had never been here before. Jim Hendrick is standing by now with a special guest.
Dick, we're down here with Bill Lawrence, the Director of Communications for the Ministry of Tourism in the Bahamas. And, Bill, this is quite an event for the islands.
Absolutely. We are very excited about bringing the boats here. It's been a major event. It really has involved all the local people, the local business, but more than anything else, it's given us a chance to really showcase our country.
What about the economy? Will it help?
Well, absolutely. I mean, tourism is our #1 business here in the Bahamas, and we want all of the people around the world to see this, to think, hey, this is a place we'd like to visit.
Is this a one-time shot?
No, sir. We made a commitment, a long-term commitment, and this is the first annual.
All right, there you have it. Talking to Bill Lawrence, Director of Communications for the Ministry of Tourism. Back to you, Dick.
Thank you very much, Jim, as we look back on the course at our second place boat. Now, we told you the leader had gotten off it by about a mile an hour. So we're wondering now if indeed La Grande Argentina will start closing in on the Alcone Motorsports. Danielle Scioli, I'm sure, has been informed by his crew on shore that there's been a reduction in speed. We'll see if he can take advantage of it. That big diesel-powered boat out there, and you look down from the tail of it, you see he's still getting a very, very good ride. As we continue with our boats out there, you can see some of them bunching up in the smaller classes. Some good competition going on. Also some lapping of the field by the bigger boats. That's why we have the difference in the amount of laps that the boats go. For instance, if you missed it at the beginning of the show, the super and the open boats are going 12.5 laps. The modified and production boats are going 10 laps, and the stock boats are going 8. We have a total of 21 boats in an invitational field here in the Bahamas. Still a lot of action to be had.
And the weather seems to be improving, Dick, as the sun is starting to break out some ways around the course. We're seeing more blue, and the rain has gone, and the wind remains pretty calm.
Recovery is leading in the open class. The U.S. won. He took this boat right out of the box, and it was unbelievable. The very first race that he put that boat into, the first race of the year, he ended up winning his class. So Stuart Hayham has no problem at all with that boat. Here's Executor again. That's Jorge Del Rey out of Coral Gables, Florida, who is the throttle on the boat as well as the owner. And with him is Julio Del Rey out of Miami, Florida.
Dick, an interesting point on recovery with Joey Impression and Stuart Hayham. Their first lap in testing was 103.4. Then they went to 109, 111, 112. They're getting close to 113 mile an hour. They're improving every lap.
That's pretty fast, especially when you look at the speeds of this boat, the Alcone Motorsports, which has backed it off now to, what, about 109 miles an hour, did we figure?
Right now, he's about 110, 111 mile an hour. But his first lap was 123. Then he went down to 118. 117, 115. He's down to 110. In fact, he's a mile an hour slower than La Grande Argentina, who's trying to catch him.
Obviously, at this point, he's kind of feeling out his competition, and he's got enough lead on the field at this point to be able to back off it a little bit and see if he can save that engine. You know, one thing about running in smooth water, you do tend to run that engine very, very hard. Without getting off it, it gets no relief at all, and they have actually had some very bad engine problem in smooth water. So they want to be sure to save that engine. Backing off a little bit will accomplish that.
Well, an interesting part, you're talking about engines. This boat, Alcone Motorsports, has two 1,000 horsepower Mercruiser engines. Now, the boat at the top of the screen there coming up is the second place in Super. La Grande Argentina has four 1,100 horsepower diesel engines. And as he now starts to pass the third in open class. Here's your second in Super on the top, and your yellow and black Ohio Steel is running third in opens.
And there you can see the extra power that the Super boats have as he pulls even now with Ohio Steel. And we have a neck-and-neck race there, and actually two boats in two separate classes, but still some good action on the course out there. And don't think for a moment that Ohio Steel would not like to hold off La Grande Argentina just to go back into the pits and say, you know what I did, guys, while we were out there? But it is not going to happen. As you can see, La Grande Argentina has now taken the lead over that boat, and there he's lapping some of the smaller stock class boats. These boats not coming anywhere close to the power of the big Super boats. Ohio Steel, though, is hanging right with them, trying to make a race out of it. Alcone Motorsports still out in the lead as we continue. Alcone now is finishing lap number 8. As we said, that boat will be going a total of 12 laps to get the checkered flag, if indeed that boat ends up getting it. But a great shot of the two guys on board. Matt Alcone is driving the boat. Jerry Galbraith is on the throttles.
117 plus for Alcone on lap number 8, so he's picked it up about 6 miles an hour when he gets word that this boat here, the number 2 boat, is trying to catch him.
Let's take a look now at the standings after lap 8 of 12.5 for the Super boats and the opens. There it is. We'll be back with more from the Bahamas.
It wasn't that tough out there today, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was pretty easy course. That way they had it laid out. It was really nice.
All right, now, you know the fortunes of war is that you were trying to catch the recovery, and he broke.
Well, better you ask this fellow that was a throttle man, you know. He know about it.
Okay, Dad wants you to answer, George. You tell me. When did you know that the recovery broke?
About the last lap, we saw him break down. It was a big break for us, you know, and then we got first, of course.
Do you like this course for racing?
Yeah, it was very smooth, very nice, very pretty, very nice. Very good weather.
Good weather also for the high-risk boat, Rick Felsen and Mike Belgin, and they take a win in the production class.
We're down here with Rick Felsen right now, the high risk in winning the Pro Stock at 99 miles an hour. That's perhaps the fastest finish that any Pro Stock boat has ever had.
Oh, well, Jim, you know, the water was so calm and the course was so exciting. We just put the pedals down and just kept going. The boat was screaming. It was exciting. I loved it.
No close competition, then you just went out and wire to wire.
I couldn't turn around and look if there was. Without that canopy system and over 110 miles an hour in the straights and under this bridge over there, you couldn't turn around. You just went. We went through rainstorms. Only the Bahamas can offer this kind of race course. It was fantastic.
The Atlantis Bahamas Superboat Challenge, and what a day it has been. A little bit of occasional rain, but very light showers, and it ended up with the sun shining. We want to thank you for joining us. Dick Crippen for Jim Hendrick. We'll see you next time from the Bahamas.
Live college hoops tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. Now, they're not all Free Willy and Shamu. They're killer whales, and they're dangerous and in danger. Next.